Hi everyone, I'm here today to cut the soap I made yesterday that I did on a live video. So let me turn the camera around. And here we are. I'm in my cutting area where I do a lot of cutting and I also do a lot of measuring and stuff. And this is the first time anyone's seen my cutting area. So you can see I have some ribbons and I have a big grid map that I do other stuff on. This was my batch extra from yesterday. And it is called Christmas trees for now, but if I still have inventory after, if I still have inventory after Christmas is over, I'm probably going to change the name of this soap to something, some kind of like woodsy type of thing. So I have 8 loaves of this soap. And the first thing I have to do is this is all my end cuts and stuff that I melt down to make rebatch soaps. So I'm going to need that handy in order to put whatever scraps I end up with in there, which will get melted down. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I've been on YouTube. I've been doing school full time. I actually just got done doing my first test of the semester, and a lot of reading goes along with that, but I'll try to be on here sometimes. So here is the soap. Because I use silicone, I get a little bit of bubbles and I have a little bit of ash. So I plane these, and you can see over there my planer. So I'm gonna start with that. And you can see I plane some of the surfaces, but on the bottom, I leave this unplaned until I'm done cutting, and I'll show you why in just a second. So I'm getting my cutter now. Most of the cuts that I make today are just going to be regular 1-inch cuts, and then I'm going to do some smaller cuts too. So here is the loaf. We get to see what they look like. So the reason why I don't plane the bottom right away is because after I cut, it kind of like pushes all of this stuff. And then I find if I just plane them right after I cut, then I can take care of the bubbles and that little bit of gunk at the same time. Okay, let's see. I have my tray over here, but I'm gonna see, let's see if I can just move it right here, and that way that might be a little bit better. So we'll see some of the cuts now. So there's the first one. I think it kind of looks like a seahorse right there. Like we have a little seahorse in there. It's like, what do you see on the ink blots? Tell me what you see. So I'll put these down. Let's see. So you can kind of see both of the different greens plus the lighter color, which did actually turn out really light considering it's goat milk soap. So that worked out pretty well. So we have some more cuts from this loaf. I like that. Have a little bit more white in that one. So you can see those swirls. A lot of times when I do these, I do all of the planing and then get all that done, get the molds out of here, and then I'll do like all of the cutting as like separate steps. It seems to be a little bit more efficient, but since I'm live and I'm trying to keep everything in the camera view, there's just some extra. I'm just doing it loaf by loaf, but normally I don't do it this way. So again, just getting some of that extra, and then I'm just gonna plane off the top layer and make it even. I'm using a little tool here to just, there was a little bit that was kind of, some of these were a little bit thicker, so there was a little bit that was just sitting up over the sides. And I use this little tool to just kind of go like that and make it even. So I'm not able to see everything in the chat since I'm not always looking at it, and I kind of see things pop up and then it goes away really fast on my screen. So if you had a question that you wanted me to answer, you would have to post it in a comment later under the video, in case I miss it. I mean, if I see it, I'll try to answer, but if I don't see it, that's why. Oops, I forgot to do the sides. Oops, that one's upside down. Okay, so here's the next cuts. I like how, you know, some of them have this little weird swirl up there, kind of like a universe. I think that's a universe. A universe and maybe like a tornado. Or no, this isn't a tornado. This is North America and that's South America and this is the Caribbean right here. That's much better. Oh my goodness. Then maybe this is a hurricane. Oh, that's awful. Goodness, I better stop looking at it. Okay. And you can see all kinds of things in this. I like universe better. The colorants were, let's see. I can go get them real quick. Just give me just a second. I'll show you. I still had them out yesterday from making the soap, and I used hydrated chrome green oxide from Brambleberry, moss green color from the Sage, some titanium dioxide that I got from Nature's Garden, and I used some diamond dust mica. I don't have a supplier on this, so I don't remember where it came from, but that's what it's called. The diamond dust mica and the titanium dioxide were both in the lighter colored side, and I had separate greens done separately. If you see my video from yesterday, you'll be able to see how I did it. If you were here yesterday, then you'd know. If not, you can go back and still look. I did a live video, so unfortunately, without any editing, it can be really kind of slow, but it's there if you want to look through. Okay, so here we go. Next one. Next loaf. This one has a lot of the lighter colors in it. It must have been earlier on. Also, it didn't sit up as high, so I know it wasn't as thick. It must have been one of the first pours. So let's cut this one. Speaking of hurricanes, I hope everyone is okay for all of my friends down in Florida and the South, and also in Texas. Hope everybody's okay down there. As for weather here, it feels a little bit cooler than usual. It's starting to get cold. Not super cold, but definitely makes you think about getting all of your projects done, whatever you were going to do that was outside. And here we go. Some more soaps. Oh, I like this one. See, I'm starting to clear out some of my mold from here. This was 8 loaves, so I have a lot of soap to cut. And I'm cutting the 4th one right now, so almost halfway. On the last loaf, I'm going to use a different cutter, and I'm going to cut 1 ounce bars from these. Right now I'm cutting 4 ounce bars that are like 1 inch thickness. So then you'll get to see how I cut my minis. And the minis, I sell them as custom loaves right now, where it's like I'm going to cut this loaf into 32 1 ounce bars. I sell them as custom, but I'm going to start offering for sale minis that are already made, so that you could just buy one. A lot of people like that, so that they can give it a try, almost like a little sampler size. But normally they're just, they have been just custom. Now they're going to be added. This one looks cool. Look at all these little designs, kind of like stripes. And that one looks the same. And then these two. This one kind of looks like it has an anvil in the middle, maybe. Or anvil, is that what I'm thinking of? Or like an anchor. Maybe an anchor is what I meant. Maybe kind of both. Now, some people have said with these molds, it's hard to get the soap out. And I think what it is that it's hard to get the soap out the first like time or two that you use them, and after that they start to really relax. So if you had these before and like maybe you didn't like this kind of mold, just give it a chance to loosen up. Okay, this is loaf number 5 out of 8. So we have some that look like this. And these two. And let's take a look at the other half. These just kind of have like a light line in it, kind of like a little vein or something. Okay, so I'm going to do this one. Have some soap flying off. Okay. On this one I had one side that was like a little bit taller because I poured it on this side and it got thick, so I had to like plane it extra on that side. Let's see. I don't know how well you can see the actual cutter, but I have you plugged in and I can't really move you that much, so doing the best I can with what I have. And those ones. The soap smells really good too. It's very woodsy. Very woodsy kind of scent. My husband was saying he really likes the smell of this one. It reminds him of his home where he grew up in Washington State, where if you're away for a time and you go back, you can smell it in the air for like a day or two. Oops, I'm dropping the molds. Let me pile some over here. But then after you're there for a little while, it becomes normal. Okay. But it really has the fragrance of like the fir trees and just really forest type scent with the evergreen trees. There's some pine essential oil in here too, and fir essential oil. And again, it's a goat milk soap, and it also has shea butter. This loaf had a little bit more green in it than white. I like on this one because you can see both of the green colors and the white. Sometimes the greens really blend, and sometimes it's really defining on which green you're seeing because there's two greens. And now that my bucket is full, I'm going to have to make some more rebatch soap. Okay, well, I'm on the last loaf now, so I'm going to switch it up and get my other cutters. Get some of this soap, little bits. And this one I'm going to cut into the 1 ounce bars, the 1 ounce minis. I used 2 cutters to do this. So let me get the first one. This is a bud cutter, and I had him specially make this one for me, and it's a 1/2 inch cutter. So it's going to cut 16 bars. And then I have a different cutter that I'm going to show you next. That's going to cut them down from 16 to 32. In fact, I usually use these together. So I'll just show you the other one. Now let me move some of these molds. This is also a bud cutter. So this one is an adjustable single bar cutter. So I'm going to show you how I use it a little bit differently than intended in order to make these smaller cuts. You'll see. First, let me plane the soap because I have to do that first. I used to do fancy tops like a lot of other soap makers, but I found that planing it just suits me better. And I never have to worry about ash. And I just have a standard size. So that's just kind of what I prefer to do now. And everybody's different, so. Okay, so my first step was like the other ones. I just planed the top and these 2 sides, and now I'm going to cut it in this one. And the last time I used this, I rusted a string and I just replaced it. So fingers crossed that that doesn't happen right now, because when I replaced it, I broke one exactly immediately, but it was thinner. So this one is the right size. But this soap is so firm already, even though I just made it yesterday. I'm going nice and slow. All right. Yay! Okay, you can kind of see that. I might be able to move you a little bit to see this better. There we go. All right. I see there's some comments. It looks like Arabic. I don't understand what it is. I understand English and Spanish, but I'm assuming that you're saying something great and positive. So hello and welcome to the channel, to the video. So now on this one, what I usually do here is I'm going to measure across. Okay, and then I already know that half of this is going to be about 1 3/4 of an inch from the left to the right. So say that your bar was 4 inches from left to the right, then your measurement would be 2 inches, for example. Now, the one thing this bud cutter did not come with that I adjusted, I added to it, was a ruler right here. So I carved these lines in and tried to ink them, and the ink doesn't really stay after washing so many times, but I can still see where the lines are. So I'm going to adjust my cutter to be half of the size from left to right on the bars that I just cut. Okay, so this just unscrews and moves left to right to adjust up to a 2-inch cut or to whatever size under that. And it's a single wire cutter. So I'm going to take some of these bars and I'm going to line them up. Let's see, you can see this out of the corner, so I don't have to move anything. And then just in case I measured wrong, usually on the first cut, I like to take the wire right down to the top of the bar. And then usually I'm going to measure that, but I cleaned up my ruler and I moved it out of the room, of course. So instead I'm going to use this little piece of paper. And I'm going to just make sure I made a little fold on the one side, and I'm going to check on the other side, and I can see that it's just a tad bigger on this side. So I'm going to just adjust it in just a little bit. I'm going to check it again, and after this I'll be good to cut everything else easily. So now I have 1 ounce minis. I'm going to plane the bottom now because I still have the bubbles and the cutting unevenness that I talked about earlier. Okay, so here you can see the little 1 ounce bars would make a good size for sample, or would make a good size for hotel, or the 2 ounce bar would be a good size too for hotel. And now I have a bunch more of my 1 ounce bars, the minis. I call them minis. So normally if you're cutting a loaf on this cutter like that, you line up your soaps this way, and you can see that I'm doing it different by lining my soaps up this way instead. That's the difference that I'm doing here. And then I cut. And then I plane. I'll show you my planer close up in just a second. And I'm going to have to add links to where I got this stuff so that you can check out the sellers of those items, these useful soap making items. So here I have more 1 ounce bars. I have another video on my planer, so you can also check that out and see, find the video on the planer or the video on the Beveler, because they're made by the same Etsy seller. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna cut. This is the last cut, very last cut. And just quickly plane them. And you can see my little 1 ounce bars, the minis. And you can see the different colors in there too. 2 greens and a lighter color, like an off-white. So this is the planer. Now it's nice and dirty, of course, but you can see it's a bladeless planer. I have a separate video about this, so if you look in my other videos, you'll be able to see this better. Now, the thing that makes this work for me to plane the whole loaf is that one of my tables sits a little bit higher than the other table, and that allows it to catch, okay? So keep that in mind if you need to plane a whole loaf, that it has to be able to catch something like that in order for you to put pressure going from the one side to the other, from the right to the left in this case. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, I have seen some other planers on the market that have like a little foot that sits down to catch on your table that goes like from the back to the front. Actually, it would be this way because of the shape, but it would have a foot here to catch, and some of those I see to go back to front. So if you're shopping for a planer, keep that in mind on your setup, because the only reason this works for me like this as a loaf planer is because I have one table that sits a little bit higher than the other table and it catches. See? It catches. So it's not going anywhere. This used to be my eating table many years ago, like a decade ago, but now it's just for crafting and stuff. So it looks like I'm finished cutting everything. These were my little batch extras, so I'm gonna put them on the tray. And that's pretty much it. So let's see, turn it around and say goodbye. Bye. See you next time. Again, if you had a question and it was in the chat and I didn't see it because I was like over there doing something or whatever, just leave it in the comment after the video is done and I'll look over it later. But I can't see the questions. Okay, everyone's saying bye. Bye. Now I see them. I couldn't see all of the chat log while I was doing it, and as soon as the video is over, the chat log just disappears. I realized that yesterday because I thought that it would just convert into comments, and that's not what happens. So bye bye everyone. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.